Welcome to a special edition of Gospel Truth with Andrew Wommack, a teaching ministry that focuses on God's unconditional love and grace. On today's broadcast, Andrew is joined by David and Tim Barton as they discuss America's systemically anti-racist heritage. And now, here's Andrew.
Welcome to another very special edition of the Gospel Truth. I've got my good friends David and Tim Barton here with me in Wall Builders Ministry. I tell you, they are just a national treasure, the wisdom that they've gotten. What a blessing for them to make time to come and be with us. And the reason I asked them to be with us is because we're approaching Thanksgiving, and that's my favorite holiday. We've got so much to be thankful for. I personally believe you can check your spiritual pulse by how thankful you are. If you are just focused on problems and always interceding and struggling with things, I tell you, you aren't spiritually healthy. The Scripture says you're supposed to make your requests known with thanksgiving. And so I think Thanksgiving is powerful, and to celebrate one day a year where we just do this is a wonderful thing. And yet, because of all of the riots and the wokeness and the cancel culture and stuff, there are people today that are confused and they honestly don't feel that they have anything to be thankful for. And Tim, I think it was yesterday on our program that you said that some people are even advocating having a day of mourning instead of a day of Thanksgiving.
Correct.
Man, it's a good thing I'm not God, or I'd just turn them into a pile of ashes. That is so
you and Moses, where Moses said, hey, kill these people, and God said, yeah, right.
Sons of Thunder too.
Yeah.
That's terrible. So anyway, we have been trying to counter all of the lies, and it is lies. It's. I think Tim said that it was ignorance of American history. I believe a lot of it is intentional.
Sure.
Like, Prentice Cullors, I believe it is, a co-founder of the Black Lives Matter. She said she's a trained Marxist. Right. And I mean, they are out to destroy this nation. So there may be some people that have been sucked up into this, but the leadership of this stuff is literally out to destroy this nation and rewrite our history. So we're trying to change that. So anyway, yesterday, I've talked too much already. I'm going to turn you loose. But yesterday, we were just basically saying that America is not systemically racist. We started touching on the 1619 Project. But before we get back into that, let me just turn you guys loose again. They're saying that all of our founding fathers, these colonies, everything were based on slavery. We even had one, was it a congressman that said that America invented slavery?
U.S. Senator Tim Kaine from Virginia on the floor of the Senate said America did not inherit slavery, America invented slavery.
Created it.
Speak to that. Is that accurate?
We joke about the fact his world history teacher is either highly embarrassed or is the most incompetent teacher ever.
Is that the same one that honestly said that if they keep building on Guam that the thing
No, that's different. That was a U.S. congressman. That was a U.S. congressman that Guam was going to tip with all the military bases on one side and all the people drowned.
Yeah, that was Congressman Hank Johnson from Georgia. But it's the same level of ignorance.
It is. That's what I was going to say.
It's crazy what we're seeing in America today. And this is where, as you pointed out, there are leaders who are very intentional. We during the summer, we do a lot of programs for college students, and we tell them in life, you generally deal with two kinds of people, the intentional and the ignorant. And the reason it's important to distinguish is where Jesus talks about don't cast your pearls before swine. Well, if you're working with ignorant people, you can teach, you can educate the ignorant. But the intentional, you're casting pearls before swine because they don't care what's true. They care about their agenda and what they're trying to accomplish. And this is what we're seeing in America today, a lot of this Marxist ideology, which is why even at Thanksgiving, the time that we ought to be the most thankful, we're being told, no, we shouldn't be thankful. We should have a day of mourning, which is utterly ludicrous on every level. But part of it's based on this bad, false history and ideology narrative. And as you mentioned, it's even this notion of slavery, which let's just contrast again for a second, because we hear about Jamestown, abolition of slavery, and people hear about in 1619, there was a shipload of slaves that arrived in Jamestown, and there's a lot more context to that. Because actually at the time, and we encourage people, when we say these kind of things, we say, hey, don't take my word for it. Look it up for yourself, right? Don't believe me. Be one of the Bereans from Acts 17, right? Don't trust me. Go look this up. Truth is not scared of being questioned.
That's right.
Right? It's only people that are lying that don't want to be questioned because they don't want to be exposed. Truth is not scared of questions. Don't trust me, go look it up. Slavery was illegal in Jamestown in 1619. The only thing that was legal was indentured servitude. Well, as an indentured servitude, there was a set number of years on that, and at the end of that set number of years, Actually, in the Jamestown colony at the time, after you'd been an indentured servant for several years, you were given a land grant where you became a free landowner in America. So all of those slaves that arrived in Jamestown became indentured servants. At the end of that time, they became free landowners, and actually many of them got married, had families, raised descendants that are still alive today, which again, there's a whole lot more to that story, but the reason I bring this up is because Jamestown and Plymouth were two different colonies that were very influential in American history. We talked about it yesterday. Well, that's when the first shipload of slaves, 1619, the first shipload of slaves arrived in Jamestown.
Well, let's qualify again. Those weren't really slaves. They were indentured servants.
Now,
Well, they were slaves, but not in Jamestown.
They didn't remain slaves when they got
right.
to Jamestown. So they were in a Portuguese slave vessel that they'd come off of Africa, and it was a Portuguese slave trading vessel. And the assumption is that slave trading vessel was going to Jamaica or Cuba or somewhere like that. There were two British privateer ships that attacked that Portuguese vessel.
So the slave ship was loaded with slaves bound for another place.
But once that slave ship was conquered by these two British or actually they were privateer ships, they attacked the slave vessel. Then one of the ships took on approximately 19 slaves, and they took other spoils from this Portuguese ship. But the captain on the ship said, what are we going to do with these slaves? We need to unload them somewhere. Jamestown was the closest colony. They sailed to Jamestown, and they said, hey, we want to sell these slaves to you. And the people of Jamestown, the leaders of Jamestown said, well, we don't have slavery here. Like, that's not something we do yet. And they said, well, what do you have? Well, we have indentured servitude. He said, okay, well, I'll sell you indentured servants. So they were slaves. They became indentured servants. And then at the end of 7 years, they were given their freedom. And even today,
and land with the freedom, and that's
right.
really important.
And even today, people would say, but maybe they were treated really terribly for 7 years. Well, maybe they were treated terribly for 7 years. That's possible. We don't know how they were treated for 7 years. I will point out, though,
We aren't endorsing that, but there still is a huge difference between
Correct.
a 7-year indentured servant
and it's
a
worth
slave.
noting, had they gone to Jamaica or Cuba, the average lifespan for slaves in Cuba and Jamaica was much less than 7 years. Like 1 to 3 years was the average lifespan of. Had they arrived, they would have been worked literally to death. They might have been killed when they were down there. Jamestown would have been the best possible scenario. And again, I'm not endorsing, I'm not condoning.
Sure.
I'm not in favor, but just honestly
But it is
looking,
important that people recognize that slavery was universal.
Right.
Well,
And-
let's also make a point, too, on indentured servant, because those indentured servants, those 19 that had been slaves became indentured servants, nearly every other indentured servant in Jamestown was white. So it was not something they just did to blacks. They did whites. And give an example. Let's say I want to go to Mars, or I want to go to the moon with SpaceX. SpaceX is going to be flying people to the moon, and I don't know, it's going to cost me $1 million. And I go, well, I don't have a free million, but when I work hard, I think I'm worth $100,000 a year. I'll work 10 years for you if you'll pay for me to go to the moon. That's an indentured servant.
That's what it is.
Somebody's just fronting you a loan for you to get there, and nearly all of Virginia was populated with indentured servants that were white that wanted to come from Europe there. So it's not like these 19 black indentured servants were treated differently than anybody else.
necessarily that we know.
That's
Again,
right, that's
we can
right.
leave the caveat out that we don't know, but here's the important contrast. That's Jamestown. Let's go to Plymouth.
That's right.
Because we pointed out yesterday, Plymouth and Jamestown had very different legacies. If you go to Plymouth, there was a law passed in 1641 in Plymouth that said man stealing was illegal. And they defined man stealing as being taken from one continent, being put on a ship, sailed across the Great Sea to a new continent where you became a slave.
And they quoted Exodus 20 as the basis of why man stealing was a crime. So these
shalt
are the
not
people
steal.
that are spending hours a day in the book, and they see what the book says, and the book says man stealing is a capital offense, and that's what they did.
So that
And
law,
so to take 1619 Jamestown and just ignore 1620 Plymouth is
Right.
just totally picking and choosing.
well, and
cherry
this is what
picking their
becomes
information.
interesting is after Plymouth passed the law in 1641, in 1646 was when the first shipload of slaves arrived. And it was against the law for the slave trade to be going on in Plymouth. And presumably the captain didn't know that, but he arrives with slaves to this new colony. He's going to sell them. The people of Plymouth found out what was happening, and they went down to the port. They arrested the captain. They arrested the crew. They freed all of the slaves. They charged the captain and the crew with the crime of man stealing. And actually, the captain and the crew ended up being released because they said, we didn't know that was against the law here. We're so sorry. And they said, okay, we're going to let you go. But the people of Plymouth took up a collection that they hired a ship a captain and a crew, and they said, we want you to take these people who had been kidnapped back to wherever their home is, help get them home. The people of Plymouth actually paid to get them back home.
Wow.
Well, that was the first shipload of slaves that arrived in Plymouth.
That's just totally different than anything you're hearing today.
What you get is the story of 1619, and it's not even an accurate story, because 1619 is not the year. And you don't get the story of 1620, which is the better story because it had more of a lasting impact. We don't have slavery in America today. We do have liberty in America today. That came from the Pilgrims, not from Jamestown. And these guys are, and by the way, you mentioned the trained Marxism that was heading Black Lives Matter. Deal with Marxism, and people kind of understand that it's bad, but maybe not the concept. Their philosophy is fundamentally you get stronger by having continual fights. So if you can have two groups fighting, whichever one wins is strong, then they need to fight some other group and they'll be stronger. And so fight.
Well, and let's clarify, it's not just two groups. In Marxism, there's only two classes.
Yeah.
It is the oppressed and the oppressors.
And that's the two groups they want fighting, is the oppressed and the oppressed.
The oppressed always need to overthrow the oppressor. What's crazy, though, is in Marxism, they even point out sometimes the oppressed don't know they're in the oppressed class, so you have to teach them they're oppressed, and then you have to stir them up to rise up against the oppressor. And it's worth noting, Marxism is the ideology that in the 20th century alone is responsible for more than 100 million deaths. No ideology has killed more people than Marxism, and now you have literally the leaders of Black Lives Matter, which also is now you have leaders of critical race theory, you have leaders of the 1619 Project who all are promoting Marxist ideology. Marxism is responsible for the murders, the deaths of more people than anything else in the world. And in the midst of this, Marxism says you have an oppressed class and you have the oppressor class. And when Marx first did this, he did it on an economic perspective. It was a monetary theory, and it was that people who have money, they only got it by oppressing people who didn't have money. And so they said the people who don't have money, you need to rise up. And so this is really anti-capitalism too, but you need to rise up against that. This was tried in America. The problem was in America, it never took root because in America, there's too much economic fluidity where for all of us, I mean, we can look, his mom, my grandmother, was born in utter poverty. No electricity, no running water. I mean,
outhouses, no indoor
right?
plumbing.
I mean, that's the way she grew up, and that was normal for her. I mean, I remember growing up as a kid in her house when it'd be the summer and she wouldn't be running the air conditioner because she thought, well, we don't need this. And we're like, Grandmama, yes, we need this. We're in Texas. It's 110 degrees outside. Yep. But she had grown up she had grown up in utter poverty, and yet in a little over a generation, because of their work ethic, because of their character, because of the American system of the free market, they had achieved not just coming up out of poverty, they were in middle class and then upper middle class. In America, there was too much fluidity where everybody, even listening today, if they are in poverty, they can get out of poverty pretty quick in the American system. The Brookings Institute did a study, and they said if you were in poverty in America, there's only 3 things statistically it takes to get out of poverty in America. And that's for people born into poverty. They said if you will graduate high school, get a job, and don't have kids before you're married, 99% of people who do that get out of poverty in their lifetime.
Awesome.
So getting out of poverty is not hard to do in the American free market economic system.
So the Marxists had to change their thing. They couldn't put...
See, here's 1619 again, and notice what they say here. They said, in order to understand the brutality of American capitalism, the free market system, you have to start on the plantation. So that's that oppressed oppressor, and the only way you got money was you had to beat somebody else down to get it. So what happens with Marxism, they've been trying Marxism in America for 40, 50 years. And they want us to turn against our founders because you're not going to get rid of the Constitution unless you dislike the guys who wrote the Constitution. So you gotta pillage them and make them really bad guys. And so they first start going after, well, these guys were all immoral, and that didn't fly. I mean, that was what was going on in the 80s and 90s, and people didn't buy that. And then they got into the thing, well, these guys are all atheist, agnostics, deists. And that didn't fly either. Mm-hmm. Now they're going, well, these guys were all racist, and this one's sticking. Because quite frankly, people in America don't want to be racist.
They don't like racism. We're helping it.
Well, we're going to kill it. But so far,
I understand what
it's
you're saying.
taken root, and it's gone deeper than any of the others. That's all been Marxist philosophy to turn you against those who gave your nation, and then you have two classes fighting. And it's a weird philosophy because for them, to have that fight of oppressed and oppressor is what makes you strong. Jesus said a house divided won't stand. So Jesus says what they're doing will end in complete destruction. And it's interesting, I don't know, the logic is like, the more divorces you have, the stronger your next marriage will be. No, that's not the way it works. And so they want more and more division, and then out of that division, they'll create another oppressed and oppressor, and out of that, they'll create another, and that's what makes the nation strong. That is such a lying philosophy. It is so anti-biblical. It has never worked in the history of mankind. As Tim said, it's produced more death, destruction, and devastation than any other philosophy, and that's what we're embracing right now, but part of it's because we don't recognize what it is.
So let's go back to America being systemically racist. You're showing that there's Jamestown and Plymouth. And how about some of the founding fathers, like the people who wrote the Constitution and people like this? They were slave owners. So does that prove that they were racist?
This is what we have fun with, because there's about 250 folks we call founding fathers. You got 56 who signed the Declaration, 55 who wrote the Constitution, 90 who did the Bill of Rights. Then you throw in important governors like Patrick Henry or John Jay or others. You throw in the original Supreme Court. So you got about 250 guys you can say are founding fathers. Someone says, well, they're all founding fathers. Name them.
They're all racist.
They're all excuse me. They're all slave owners. We say, okay, name the ones who owned slaves. Washington and Jefferson. Come on, there's 250. If they're all, you got a lot to go. Give me 10 that own slaves. Give me 15. Can't do it. We've never had anybody, and we do the same thing with the founding fathers who are all atheists, agnostics, deists. Okay, tell me which ones were. And they get 3 or 4 or 5, and it's the same 3, 4, or 5. Well, and on that they say, because these 5 did it, everybody else did it, and that's a bad assumption.
And it's worth noting that if we look back at the founding fathers, it's true that at some point in their life, the vast majority of founding fathers did at some point own slaves. Now, not all of them did, but we often learn history in generalizations and broad accusations. When someone says all of the founding fathers were racist slaveholders, right? I say, well, okay, tell me about John Adams. Tell me about Sam Adams. Let me just go through a list of people who never owned slaves and fought against slavery their whole life. They don't fit in that category. But then you have people like Benjamin Franklin. Mm-hmm. Benjamin Franklin was a slave owner, except no historian considers Franklin a racist. Why? Because Franklin not only freed his slaves, Franklin works to end slavery in America. Franklin actually advocates that one of the reasons we needed to separate from Great Britain was because the king was striking down our anti-slavery laws that were passed while we were still British colonists. And then Franklin ends up becoming the president of an anti-slavery society in Pennsylvania.
And Pennsylvania is one of those called Pennsylvania in 1773. Now, we didn't separate from Great Britain and become America until 1776. So Pennsylvania is a royal colony in 1773. That's where Franklin lives. And in 1773, they passed an anti-slavery law and the king struck it down. Massachusetts passed an anti-slavery law in 1773. The king struck it down. You have Connecticut. You have all these states that passed anti-slavery laws. The king struck them down. That was actually one of the grievances in the Declaration of Independence, is we've been trying to end slavery and this dude won't let us. Every time we pass an anti-slavery law, he vetoes it. So Franklin actually owned a slave in Pennsylvania. So did Benjamin Rush in Pennsylvania. When they got out from under the British crown, they freed their slaves, and they both become co-founders of the first anti-slavery society in America.
So I've heard that the King of England was actually a part owner in one of the slave trades.
Yes.
So he was definitely pro-slavery.
Correct. He had interest in the slave trade going on, if you look at the history of England, in all of their colonies where the old adage that the sun would never set on the British empires, because they had conquered so much of the world, and slavery was part of what they did in all of their colonies around the world. That was part of who they were and what they did, which is why when Americans were saying, we don't want slavery, the king said, you can't stop that. It's part of the British colonies, part of the British system.
So you were mentioning Pennsylvania in the 1700s, but I've heard that in the 1680s or something that Pennsylvania actually started abolitionist movements.
Yes, there were.
So this is 100 years before this.
Right. There was a group of Quakers back in the late 1600s in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania was largely a Quaker colony, going back to William Penn, who was a Quaker in England, who's the founder of Pennsylvania. And you had Quakers who, fundamentally, there were two things Quakers were always against: war and slavery. That's just part of what you see when you study the Quakers and their history. And so knowing that this is a colony founded by Quakers and knowing that they're against war and against slavery, it absolutely makes sense and stands to reason that they were against slavery from all the way back in their very beginning. And it's true when you study the history of Pennsylvania. Now, going back even to the Founding Fathers, the reason this matters is if you look, for example, at the signers of the Declaration, there were 56 signers of the Declaration, and it's argued that, well, approximately 40 of those guys at some point in their life owned slaves. Well, that's true, but what people never seem to talk about is how many of those guys actually freed the slaves in their lifetime, or began speaking out against slavery or helped found or start abolition societies, helped fund and work for abolition societies, we never hear the rest of the story of like the Benjamin Franklins freeing their slave or the Benjamin Rush freeing their slaves. Or this is a really interesting lithograph.
There was a definite change in America towards slavery once we got out from under the British Empire. And so Massachusetts is a state that in 1773 said, we've had it, here's an anti-slavery law. The king says, no, you're going to keep it. So when we separated, Massachusetts becomes the first state in the United States to totally ban slavery. End it, straight out. This is a piece that ran in a newspaper. This is 1792. This is called the Equality Ball. This is John Hancock, who's governor of Massachusetts, who is anti-slavery, and beside him is Paul Cuff. Paul Cuff is the wealthiest black businessman in America. He has businesses in numerous states across the United States.
A black man that was...
Black man, the business owner.
And
see,
what date would that have been?
This happened in 1792, but he was a business owner well before that. 1780, he already had a very prosperous business. And so this is the other reason part of 1619 stands is people don't know enough black history to rebut that. And if you start going through Paul Cuff and James Fortin and all these other names I can throw out that were very prosperous, wealthy businessmen in this system. So what you have here, this is called the Equality Ball. John Hancock sponsored this ball to show blacks and whites are equal here in Massachusetts. There never was, there's a guy in the Civil War, his name is John Hancock. He's a colonel in the Union Army from Pennsylvania, not the same John Hancock, but he points out historically there never was a time in Massachusetts when blacks couldn't vote. So from the very, very beginning, blacks and whites were equal in Massachusetts.
Man, this is radically different than all of the stuff that we hear.
And that's why you will never see a picture like this in the 1619 Project, because it undermines their narrative. Now, there's bad stuff that happened in Jamestown, no question, but there's a lot of good stuff that they'll never tell you about, and you got to tell the good, the bad, and the ugly, and this is part of the good.
And I know that one of the articles that you wrote and put in our Thanksgiving newsletter was something about, you'll have to correct me, but there was 90-something% of the northern states that had outlawed slavery or resisting?
So by 1804, every northern state had passed a law for the abolition of slavery. But when you look...
and by the way, that included New York, that included New Jersey and other states that are not necessarily northern states. So the northern states tend to be the Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, all those guys.
But some of those laws were done for the gradual emancipation so that whenever a slave family had a child, that all the children would be free. So you could maintain the slaves you had, but then you couldn't get any new slaves and their kids weren't slaves and it wasn't inherited anymore. What's interesting though is I think the number you're looking at, I think it was by about 1810, it was about 99% of the former slaves in the northern colonies had been freed, and there was almost no vestige of slavery left in the northern colonies because of those anti-slavery laws that were passed.
You look at the census, I think it's 1790, there's just a dozen slaves in some states, and the largest slave owner would own 6 slaves, and that was half the slaves in the state. I mean, it was just a tiny percentage, tiny amount of slaves left in the northern states.
Man, this is radically different than what we're hearing. So that's the reason we're doing these programs, is because we've got to change the narrative. They've been lying about things, and so praise God. This has been great. We're just about out of time today, but we do have some material that we're offering. I've got my teaching on the effects of praise, and this is talking about how important it is to be positive and thankful for all the things that God has done. I've got that on CD and DVD. We're also offering the programs from what we're doing here. And I encourage you to please take advantage of this. Our announcer is going to give you some more information about all the things we're offering. And I encourage you to call or write, check it out, and join us the rest of this week as we continue to share with David and Tim Barton about a godly attitude towards this nation.
Today, you saw a portion of Andrew's interview with David and Tim Barton as they discuss America's systemically anti-racist heritage. If you'd like more information about David and Tim Barton, visit their website at wallbuilders.com.
These programs that we've done for the Thanksgiving season, I believe, are really timely. I encourage you to please get these materials. I'm offering my teaching on the effects of praise. I've got a book on it, CDs and DVDs. And then my interview with David and Tim Barton are what I'm calling Systemically Anti-Racist, where we're setting straight the true history of America and countering all of these lies that are being spoken. There's also a free little booklet about Thanksgiving that comes from the Bartons, and our announcer will give you all of the material. I encourage you to please check it out, respond, and get these materials today.
This entire interview is available in either a CD or DVD album made from our daily television broadcast. You can also get Andrew's 3-week series titled The Effects of Praise Today. This series is available as a book or in a CD or DVD album made from our daily television broadcast. Each of these valuable resources are available for a gift of any amount when you contact us. As a special offer, you can get the Thanksgiving in America tract for free today when you write or call. This offer is limited to 1 free item per household and is available in the US and Canada. You can order resources through our website at awmi.net. While there, you can discover more product details and download additional free resources. You can also order resources or receive prayer by calling our helpline at 719-635-1111. Our helpline is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To write us, use the address on your screen. We appreciate your generosity and hope to hear from you today. Andrew's Bible College, Charis Bible College, has over 60 extension schools around the world. Go to charisbiblecollege.org today to find a school near you. Transforming lives, training leaders, changing the world. Charis Bible College. Andrew has many conferences and seminars around the globe each year. For the latest information on Andrew's complete speaking schedule, visit our website at awmi.net/events.
Coach Tony and also JB, you know, we started this about 2 years ago, talking about the kneeling issue in the NFL, and you were sharing with me some of the background stories behind these people, and we just got to saying, we need to get these stories out there because there was another side.
I'm Tony Dungy, and I'm really excited about a new series I've been working on with James Brown called Beyond the Game.
You've been called Captain Kirk,
Yeah.
you know, a leader of men.
Jesus ultimately did that better than anyone, and his influence to this day is greater than anyone's. And so I look to him, look to the Bible, look to Scripture and the Gospels to say, how did he lead? What did he do? And then try to live that out.
Coaches and athletes in your favorite sports, and you get to see a side of them that we don't always get to see, their faith side.
We have so much negative press about athletes and, you know, spousal abuse and all kinds of things going on. And I think that this is really going to make a difference for people to see that there's some really godly people out there.
Clearly, it's the aberrant behavior of a few that gets the majority of the headlines.
So it's not only good for the athletes, but I know that you guys sometimes are just throttled in what you can say about the Lord.
We get so frustrated, especially when we'll go out and do a feature piece, but it has to get cut down into a 1 minute or 2 minute interview. And the audience can't really hear what is in the heart of these men.
We're thankful to you, as Tony said, to give us this platform, Andrew.
We'd love to have your help. Go to beyondthegame.co to find out details.